Sang never thought his life would end because of a dog. 3 dogs, to be exact. It was a hot summer night in Neo-Seoul when his bike turned the corner of the market. The neon lights from signs flashed on his black helmet. The city had changed since aliens came to Earth in 2157, but some things stayed the same. The smell of food, the busy streets, and Sang's bad attitude. Sang was 32 and known as one of the scariest delivery men in the area. He started by bringing food to people but now moved packages for people who paid well and asked no questions. He didn't ask questions either. The money was good, and in this world where humans and aliens fought for jobs, good money was hard to find. The 3 dogs appeared suddenly in the street ahead. They were strong, smooth, with blue-silver fur that showed they were part earth dog, part alien. These pets cost more than Sang made in a year. He could have stopped. He should have stopped. But something in him, the part that hated rich people and their costly pets, made him speed up instead. His bike lifted a meter off the ground as he aimed at the animals. The first dog yelped when Sang's boot hit its side, sending it tumbling. He laughed and turned around to chase the other 2. The second dog got hit, but the third one ran away too fast. "Stupid mutts," Sang said, feeling proud as he drove away. What Sang didn't see was the black car that had stopped nearby. He didn't see the tall, strong man with the serious face get out. And he didn't see the small device the man held up, taking a clear picture of Sang's license plate. In a fancy apartment high above the city, Han looked at the alert on his tablet. The security system had sent a message. 3 of his special dogs had been attacked. Han wasn't just any dog owner. Before coming to Earth, he worked as a security expert, the kind governments hired to solve big problems. His Earth name, chosen for doing business here, was Jason Statham, picked because Han liked it. The name was famous among both humans and aliens. Han's friend, Ju, put a hand on his shoulder. What happened? Han showed her the video from the dog's security chips. "Someone's going to pay," he said simply. Across town, Sang celebrated by drinking with his friends Ki and Tai at their usual place, a small bar called the Orbital where humans and friendly aliens mixed. Ki laughed when Sang told his dog-kicking story. "You're crazy," Ki said, shaking his head. "Those weren't normal dogs. Did you see the marks? They're alien hybrids." "So what?" Sang shrugged, taking another drink. "Rich people and their pets think they own the streets." Tad looked worried. "Those dogs cost more than all our body parts combined. Someone will look for you." Sang laughed it off, but felt cold inside. He didn't know that across the city, his face was being matched to his ID, or that Han was loading weapons that humans had never seen before. As night fell, Sang's phone beeped. An unknown client offered 3 times his normal pay for a pickup right away. Needing money and feeling brave from drinking, Sang said yes without thinking. The address led to an empty warehouse at the edge of town, a place where the city lights barely reached. As Sang's bike got closer, he felt something strange. The warehouse stood like a metal monster against the night sky. Sang parked his bike outside and saw no other vehicles around. Strange for a pickup job. He fixed his jacket, feeling the small gun hidden inside. Not legal, but in his work, safety came first. "Hello," Sang called, his voice bouncing off the walls of the big empty space. Metal beams went up into darkness above. "I'm here for the pickup." The sound of paws on concrete made him freeze. 3 dogs came out of the shadows, the same 3 he had met earlier. Their alien eyes glowed slightly in the dark, watching him move. One limped a bit, and Sang knew it was the first dog he had kicked. "Beautiful animals, aren't they?" A deep voice filled the warehouse. Han stepped into the light, his strong body casting a long shadow. He wore simple clothes, but still looked powerful. The scars on his face told stories of fights across many star systems. "I didn't know they were yours," Sang said quickly, his hand moving toward his hidden gun. Han smiled without humor. "And that would have changed things." "I don't think so." From behind boxes came Ju, her pretty face not matching the deadly alien gun in her hands. Another figure joined them, a tall, thin alien with see-through skin showing blue veins underneath. This was Rune, Han's alien friend, whose people had helped create the hybrid dogs. "There are two ways this can go," Han said, walking closer while the dogs circled Sang. "You can work for me to pay back your debt, or..." He let Sang imagine the rest. Before Sang could pull his gun, something stung his neck. His vision blurred as he realized Rune had shot a dart. He fell to his knees, the world spinning. "I'll take option 1," Sang managed to say before everything went black. When Sang woke up, he was in a fancy apartment with a wide view of Neo Seoul. His head hurt as he sat up on a sleek couch that probably cost more than he made in a year. The 3 dogs watched him from across the room, their smart eyes disturbing. "They remember you," Ju said, entering with a glass of water. "These hybrid dogs have perfect memory. They're not just pets, they're partners." Sang took the water carefully. "What does he want from me?" "Han needs a delivery man who knows the underground," Ju explained. "Someone who can move without being noticed. And if I say no?" Ju's smile was cold. "You've seen his face now. Han doesn't leave loose ends." Later that night, Han explained the job. A package needed to go to 7 places across the city, items that couldn't go through normal channels. The contents, Han promised, weren't illegal weapons or drugs, but something more valuable. Data crystals with information about alien technology that certain companies would kill to own. "Why trust me?" Sang asked. "I kick your dogs." Han's face stayed calm. "Because you had the courage to do what you wanted without fear of what might happen. That's rare. Stupid, but rare." He paused. "Also, if you betray me, these will find you." He pointed to the dogs, who seemed to understand, their eyes shining with intelligence. That night, as Sang lay on the guest bed in Han's apartment, he sent messages to Ki and Tai, telling them he got a good-paying job and would be out of touch. He left out the details about his new boss. What Sang didn't know was that his friends had troubles of their own. Soon after he left the orbital, company agents had talked to them, asking questions about Sang and offering big rewards for information about where he was. Dawn broke over Neo Seoul as Sang got ready for his second delivery. 3 days had passed since the chase, and Han had insisted on waiting. Corporate security would be watching for the courier to appear again. "Today's package goes to the university area," Han explained, showing Sang a map with the route marked. "The receiver is Professor Yoon, a scientist who studies alien biology." Sang looked at the 3 dogs resting nearby. "Is that how you got them?" "Through this professor." Han nodded. "Yoon helped create the gene-mixing technique. The professor is also working on something more important, a way for humans to use alien neural interfaces without rejection." The package had research data stolen from a competing lab, though Han called it getting back what was rightfully Yoon's work. Sang didn't question it. The moral gray area of courier work wasn't new to him. What was new was the growing worry in his chest when he thought about Ki and Ta. Neither had answered his messages. In the underground network of couriers, silence usually meant trouble. As Sang prepared to leave, Ju came up with something in her hand, a small device that she attached to his wrist. "Emergency beacon," she explained. "If you're in trouble, activate it. We'll find you." "Why the extra protection?" Sang asked, suspicious. Ju's face turned grim. "Your friend Ki was found dead yesterday. Made to look like a robbery, but our sources say corporate security was involved." The news hit Sang like a physical blow. Ki, with his loud laugh and endless hope, had been his friend since childhood. They had started courier work together, though Kai had eventually chosen the safer path of legal deliveries. "They're looking for you," Ju continued. "For us. The data crystals are worth billions to the right people or the wrong ones." Sang's grip tightened on his helmet. "And Ta?" "Missing. Maybe hiding, maybe taken for questioning." Han joined them, his face showing a rare glimpse of sympathy. You can quit. We'll find another courier. Sang thought of Ki, of their shared dreams of saving enough to leave Earth someday for one of the colony worlds where chances were better. He thought of the upgraded bike, the impressive technology at his disposal, and the creatures watching him from across the room, the dogs he had once kicked out of petty spite. No, Sang decided. I'm in, but I want something in return. Han raised an eyebrow. Name it. Help me find Ta. And whoever killed Ki pays. Han nodded once, agreement sealed without words. The university area was busy with students of various species. Alien exchange students were easy to spot with their see-through skin and graceful movements. Sang kept his visor dark as he moved through the crowds, package safe in his inner jacket pocket. Professor Yoon's laboratory was in the bioengineering building, accessible only through security checkpoints. Sang's new credentials identified him as a research assistant, a cover identity created by Han's forgers. The professor was not what Sang expected. Yoon was young, maybe early 30s, with quick movements and bright, curious eyes. Her laboratory was spotless, filled with equipment Sang couldn't begin to name. You're Han's new courier, she said, not a question. She examined Sang with the same clinical interest she might give a lab specimen. You look ordinary. That's good. Sang handed over the package. Compliments aren't your strong suit, are they? Yoon smiled briefly. When you've worked with alien hybrids, ordinary humans seem simple. She paused, opening the quantum lock with her thumbprint. No offense meant. None taken, Sang replied, though he felt a flash of irritation. As Yoon took out the data crystal, Sang's helmet flashed a warning. Security systems in the building had just increased their alert level. Someone had triggered a silent alarm. We need to leave, Sang said urgently. Now. Yoon looked confused. What? Why would? The laboratory door slid open. 2 security officers entered, hands on their weapons. Behind them stood a face Sang recognized, Ta, looking terrified. That's him, Ta said, voice shaking. The courier I told you about. Time seemed to slow as Sang understood the betrayal. Ta stood behind the security officers, eyes down, unable to look at Sang. The officers were already pulling out their weapons, not standard university stun guns, but military-grade pulse rifles. This was a trap. Professor Yoon and Courier Sang. One officer announced, "You are detained under corporate security protocol. Surrender the data crystal and submit to questioning." Sang's hand moved to the emergency beacon on his wrist. One press would alert Han, but help would take time to arrive. Time they didn't have. Professor Yoon moved with surprising speed. She swept her arm across a nearby counter, sending glass and equipment crashing to the floor. The resulting cloud of chemicals created confusion. In the chaos, she grabbed Sang's arm, pulling him toward what appeared to be a solid wall. Genetic lock, she explained quickly, pressing her palm to the surface. A hidden door slid open, showing a narrow emergency exit. Go. Sang hesitated, looking back at Ta. Their eyes met briefly. Fear in Ta's, confusion and hurt in Sang's. Why? Sang asked, even as he backed toward the escape route. Tae's answer was drowned out by the sound of weapons charging. The security officers fired, narrowly missing as Sang ducked into the passageway with Yoon right behind him. The door sealed shut, muffling the sounds of pursuit. They have my sister, Tae's voice echoed in Sang's memory. That must have been what he said. The realization didn't ease the pain of betrayal, but helped explain it. The passage led to a maintenance tunnel that ran beneath the university complex. Yoon moved confidently through the dimly lit corridors, suggesting she had used this escape route before. How did they know about the delivery? Sang asked as they hurried along. Information leak, Yoon replied grimly. Someone in Han's organization, possibly, or they've been tracking you since the first delivery. They emerged from the tunnel into an underground transit station. Commuters of various species moved about, unaware of the tension radiating from the pair. Sang's hoverbike was several blocks away, too far to reach safely. "We need transportation," Sang muttered, scanning the crowd for threats. Yoon pulled him toward a public terminal. "I have a better idea." Within minutes, a sleek self-driving vehicle pulled up alongside them. As they entered, Sang noticed it had no standard identification markers. "University research vehicle." There, Yoon pointed ahead where a familiar hoverbike was approaching at high speed, its rider a blur of motion. But it wasn't Han, it was Ju, with one of the dogs, Jian, secured in a specially designed sidecar. As their vehicle screeched to a halt, Ju pulled alongside. "Transfer now," she shouted over the sound of approaching security drones. Sang helped Yoon out first, then leaped onto the hoverbike behind Ju. As they accelerated away, Jian began to howl, a haunting sound that seemed to carry through the industrial zone. "What's he doing?" Sang asked, clinging to the bike as they weaved through abandoned machinery. Calling the others, Ju answered, her focus on controlling the bike at dangerous speeds. "Han's coming with Miso and Dobi. We're going to need all the help we can get." As they raced through the gathering darkness, Sang thought of Tai standing behind those security officers. He wondered if his friend had any choice, if he would have done the same to protect someone he loved. The questions burned, but answers would have to wait. Right now, survival was the only priority. The meeting point was an abandoned train station, its once grand architecture now falling apart from neglect. As Ju stopped the hoverbike under the rusted roof, Sang helped Professor Yoon get off. Her calm exterior had begun to crack, tiredness visible in the slump of her shoulders. "How much time do we have?" Sang asked, scanning their surroundings for threats. "Not much," Ju replied, checking her wrist device. "Corporate security has locked down the entire industrial sector. They're searching building by building." Jian, the alien hybrid dog, had taken a protective position at the station entrance. His ears were pointed forward, body tense as he watched for approaching dangers. The creature's enhanced senses could detect threats long before humans could. Professor Yoon sat on a fallen chunk of concrete, her scientific detachment momentarily replaced by very human wariness. If they get this technology, the balance of power shifts entirely. They could create neural weapons that target specific genetic markers. "Weapons?" Sang turned to her, confused. "You said it was for medical applications." "It is," Yoon insisted, "but any neural technology can be weaponized. That's why Han has been helping me keep it secure until we can publish the research openly, where no single corporation can claim exclusive rights." The distant sound of hover engines announced Han's arrival. He appeared at the station's rear entrance, his imposing figure accompanied by the remaining two dogs. Miso and Dobi moved with purpose, immediately joining Jian in securing the perimeter. Han's expression was thunderous as he strode toward them. "We have a traitor." His eyes flicked to Sang momentarily before focusing on Yoon. "Someone compromised our operation from within." "It wasn't me," Sang said defensively, though he understood Han's suspicion. He was the newest addition to the team, and the problems had started after his arrival. "We know," Ju interjected. "We've identified the source. One of our data analysts, Jun, disappeared 3 hours ago after transferring a large amount of cryptocurrency to an offshore account." Han nodded grimly. "And your friend Tai was leveraged through his sister. Corporate security has been holding her for the past week." The confirmation of Ta's motivation provided little comfort to Sang. "Can we help them?" "First, we secure the data," Han replied, his tone allowing no argument. "Then we can worry about rescuing hostages." Professor Yoon produced the data crystal from her pocket. "The physical data is here, but I've already transmitted the key research findings to my secure server. Even if they capture this, they won't have the complete picture." Han took the crystal, examining it briefly before securing it in a hidden compartment on his tactical vest. "We need to move. The extraction team is waiting at the harbor. A submarine will take us to international waters where my ship is docked." Ship? Sang questioned. A rare smile crossed Han's face. Did you think I lived in that penthouse all the time? I have a vessel in orbit, hidden from Earth's detection systems. Once there, we'll be beyond their reach. The plan seemed sound until a chorus of low growls came from the three dogs. Their bodies had gone rigid, eyes fixed on the eastern entrance. Multiple hostiles approaching. Ju translated, reading the animal's behavior. At least 8, maybe more. Hand-distributed weapons, sleek alien designs that hummed with energy when activated. Sang received what looked like a compact pistol, but felt unnaturally light in his hand. Neural disruptor, Han explained quickly. Non-lethal but effective. Aim for center mass. The first attack came from above, security drones dropping through the decayed ceiling, firing targeting lasers that painted red dots across their bodies. Sang ducked behind a fallen support beam as energy blasts shattered the concrete around him. The dogs moved like coordinated shadows, leaping impossible distances to bring down drones with powerful jaws. Miso seized one drone midair, crashing with it to the ground before tearing out its central processor. Dobi and Jun worked in tandem, herding the aerial attackers into Ju's line of fire. Han was a blur of motion, his combat style a fusion of Earth martial arts and alien techniques. He moved between cover positions with fluid grace, each shot finding its mark with devastating precision. Professor Yoon had taken position behind an old ticket counter, her own weapon, a modified research tool, sending electromagnetic pulses that scrambled the drone's navigation systems. Sang felt oddly calm as he aimed his weapon at an approaching security officer. The neural disruptor discharged with a soft pulse, dropping the armored figure instantly. Years of navigating Neo Soul's dangerous underbelly had honed his survival instincts, but this was different. Coordinated combat rather than street fights. The western exit is clear, Ju called out after dispatching another drone. We need to move now. As they prepared to retreat, a familiar voice called out from the station's shadows. Sang. Wait. Tai emerged from behind a pillar, hands raised to show he was unarmed. His face was bruised, one eye swollen shut. Behind him stumbled a young woman, his sister, Min, looking equally battered. They let us go, Tai explained hurriedly. After they tracked you here, it's a trap. There. His warning was cut short by a blinding flash as concussive charges detonated around the station's perimeter. The blast threw Sang against a wall, his vision blurring as debris rained down around them. Through the ringing in his ears, he heard the dogs barking and the sharp reports of energy weapons. As consciousness threatened to slip away, Sang felt something nudge his side. Dobi stood over him, the dog's eyes reflecting an almost human concern. The animal barked once, then seized Sang's sleeve with gentle teeth, pulling him toward a gap in the collapsed wall. With effort, Sang forced himself to his feet, following Dobi through the narrow opening. Outside, chaos reigned. Corporate security forces had surrounded the station with heavy assault vehicles. Han was engaged in close-quarters combat with 3 attackers while Ju provided covering fire from behind an overturned cargo container. Yoon appeared at Sang's side, supporting a semi-conscious Ta. His sister is still inside. She gasped. We have to go back. Sang looked at the collapsing station, calculation and conscience warring within him. The old Sang would have prioritized his own survival, but something had changed in these past days. Without a word, he sprinted back toward the flaming structure, Dobi keeping pace at his side. The inside of the station had become a hellish place of twisted metal and crumbling concrete. Smoke billowed through big holes in the ceiling, making it hard to see more than a few meters. Sang pulled his jacket collar over his nose and mouth, following Dobi as the dog moved with perfect confidence. Min lay trapped under a fallen support beam, awake but unable to free herself. When she saw Sang coming, fear flashed across her face. It's okay, Sang told her, kneeling to check the situation. I'm with Ta. We're getting you out. The beam was too heavy for Sang to lift alone. Dobi whined, pawing at the ground nearby where a length of metal pipe had fallen. Sang understood right away, grabbing the pipe to use as a lever. Together with Dobie's strength, the dog bracing his powerful body against the beam, they created enough space for Min to drag herself free. "Can you walk?" Sang asked, supporting her as she stood unsteadily. Min nodded, wincing through obvious pain. "My leg is hurt, but not broken." A second explosion shook the station, sending more debris falling around them. Dobie barked urgently, nudging them toward a different exit than the one Sang had entered through. "I trust you," Sang told the animal, following its lead with Min leaning heavily against him. They came out into the pre-dawn gloom behind the station, away from the main security forces. Dobie led them through a drainage pipe that ran beneath the nearby road. The tight space forced them to crawl, Min biting back cries of pain as they inched forward. When they finally emerged on the other side, they found themselves in an abandoned maintenance yard. Ju was waiting with the hover bike, Jian standing guard nearby. "Han?" Sang asked as he helped Min onto the vehicle. Ju's expression was grim, creating a diversion. "He ordered me to get you, the professor, and the data to the extraction point. And Miso, already on the way with Professor Yoon, using the service tunnels." As Sang climbed onto the hover bike behind Min, he noticed Dobie hesitating, looking back toward the burning station where Han remained. "Go," Sang told the dog. "Help him. We'll be okay." The intelligence in Dobie's eyes was unmistakable. Gratitude, perhaps, or acknowledgement of some understanding reached between them. The animal turned and sprinted back toward the station, a silver-blue blur in the dim light. The journey to the harbor was tense but uninterrupted. Security forces had focused their efforts on the station, not expecting survivors to escape in the opposite direction. As they approached the waterfront, Sang saw a small submarine floating just offshore, its hatch open and waiting. Professor Yoon and Ta were already aboard, the professor giving medical attention to Ta's injuries. The siblings' reunion was tearful, Min collapsing into her brother's arms as soon as she boarded. "The data?" Ju asked, turning to Yoon after securing the hatch. Yoon patted her pocket. "Safe. Han transferred it to me before we separated." As the submarine began its descent, Sang felt a hollow feeling in his chest that had nothing to do with the changing pressure. "We can't leave him," he insisted, looking at Ju. "We're not," she replied, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. "Han has his own extraction plan. Always does." The underwater journey lasted nearly an hour, the vessel navigating through dark waters before finally surfacing alongside what appeared to be an ordinary fishing boat. They boarded quickly, Ju helping with the injured while Jun stood watch. Only when they were safely below decks did Ju reveal the truth. "This isn't the extraction vessel," she explained, leading them to a secure communication room. "It's just the first checkpoint." On a large screen, satellite imagery showed the burning remains of the train station. Security forces had established a perimeter, searchlights sweeping the surrounding area. "Any sign of him?" Sang asked, scanning the footage for any indication of Han or Dobie. Ju shook her head, but her expression remained confident. "He's gone to ground. Standard protocol. 72 hours of radio silence before contact." The fishing boat sailed through the night, its engines making a steady hum that lulled most of the group to sleep. Sang couldn't rest. He stood at the stern, watching the distant lights of Neo Seoul fade into the darkness. The city had been his home for his entire life, and now he was leaving it behind. "First time at sea?" Professor Yoon asked, joining him at the railing. Sang nodded. "First time leaving the city at all." Yoon smiled slightly. "There's a whole universe out there. Neo Seoul is just one tiny spot on one tiny planet. Do you think Han made it?" Sang asked, changing the subject. The thought of the man who had gone from his enemy to his employer to something like a friend in such a short time weighed heavily on his mind. "I've known Han for 15 years, Yoon replied. "He's survived much worse situations. The dogs will help him. Particularly Dobie." She gave Sang a meaningful look. That dog has developed a strange attachment to you, and Han notices such things. Below deck, Tai and Min were resting in one of the small cabins. Sang had avoided them so far, unsure what to say to the friend who had betrayed him, even under duress. As if reading his thoughts, Yoon placed a hand on his shoulder. "Don't judge him too harshly," she said. "What would you have done if they had someone you loved?" Sang had no answer. The old Sang, the one who kicked dogs for fun, might have done worse than Ta, the person he was becoming. He wasn't sure. The boat's captain, a weathered woman with the look of someone who had seen too much, approached them. "We're nearing the rendezvous coordinates," she informed them. "Time to prepare for transfer." The transfer turned out to involve a much larger vessel, a submarine that rose from the depths like a metal whale. Its sleek hull gleamed in the moonlight, water cascading off its surfaces. Unlike Earth military designs, this vessel had the unmistakable curves and blue-tinged metal of Talic engineering. One of Han's contingency plans, Ju explained as the group prepared to board. "We maintain several escape vessels around Earth's oceans." The submarine's interior was spacious and well-lit, with technology far beyond standard Earth equipment. The crew, a mix of humans and Talics, worked with practiced efficiency. Sang noticed they all wore the same small emblem on their uniforms, a stylized dog silhouette with stars for eyes. "Han's private security force," Yoon whispered, noticing Sang's curiosity. "Most are former military who prefer working outside government constraints." As they settled into their quarters, Sang finally found the courage to approach Tai and Min. The siblings sat close together in the mess hall, speaking in hushed tones. They fell silent when Sang approached. "I understand why you did it," Sang said simply, looking at Ta. "I would have done the same for Kai." Tae's eyes filled with tears. "I tried to warn you at the end. I never wanted anyone to get hurt." "I know," Sang replied, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. "We're good." The submarine descended to crushing depths, its advanced hull allowing it to travel faster and deeper than any Earth vessel. Through the viewing ports, Sang saw strange bioluminescent creatures gliding through the darkness, ocean life that few humans had ever witnessed. "We'll reach international waters in 4 hours," the navigator announced. From there, atmospheric ascent to rendezvous with the orbital vessel. "Atmospheric ascent?" Sang questioned, turning to Yoon. She grinned. "This isn't just a submarine, Sang. It's also our ride to orbit." The realization that he would soon leave Earth entirely struck Sang with a mix of fear and excitement. Just days ago, he had been a simple courier kicking dogs out of spite. Now he was involved in corporate espionage, alien technology, and apparently about to go to space. As the hours passed, tension grew among the crew. The captain regularly checked sensor readings, clearly concerned about pursuit. Ju maintained constant communication with unseen allies, speaking in a coded language Sang couldn't understand. Corporate security vessels detected. A crew member finally announced. 3 fast attack submersibles, armed and in pursuit. Estimated interception in 20 minutes. The captain's expression hardened. "Begin transformation sequence. We'll make our ascent early." What followed was a marvel of alien engineering. The submarine began to change shape, sections rotating and reconfiguring. Crew members strapped into specialized seats as gravity briefly shifted. Sang found himself secured between Ju and Yoon, with Jian locked into a special harness nearby. "Hold on," Ju advised with a grin that suggested she enjoyed this part. First orbital ascent is always rough. The vessel aimed upward, engines switching from water propulsion to something that made the entire hull vibrate with power. Screens showed their position, already near the surface and accelerating. Breaking surface in 3, 2, 1. The navigator counted down. The submarine-turned spacecraft burst from the ocean with tremendous force. Sang felt himself pressed into his seat as acceleration increased exponentially. Through a viewport, he watched Earth's blue surface fall away at impossible speed. They're still pursuing, a tactical officer reported. Corporate security has orbital interceptors launching from their Pacific platform. Yoon looked concerned. They're risking international incident for this data. Not just the data anymore, Ju replied grimly. They want us. All of us. Dead or alive, but preferably the former. As the craft punched through the upper atmosphere, the dark sky gave way to the star-filled blackness of space. Earth curved below them, a blue and white jewel against the void. Under different circumstances, Sang would have been awestruck by his first view of space. Instead, he watched the tactical display showing multiple pursuit vessels closing in. Orbital craft detected on approach vector, the tactical officer announced suddenly. But it's not corporate security. A pause. It's broadcasting Han's personal identification code. Relief flooded the command center. On the main screen appeared a sleek vessel of obvious Talic design, its hull bearing the same dog silhouette emblem. And visible in the communication window was a face Sang had feared he might never see again. Han, looking battered but very much alive, smiled from the screen. Beside him sat Dobi and Miso, also showing signs of recent combat. Sorry I'm late, Han said casually. Had to take a detour to deal with some unwanted attention. His eyes found Sang. I see the dog kicker made it. Good. Ju laughed with relief. What's the plan? Dock with my vessel immediately, Han ordered. My weapons systems will keep the corporate interceptors at bay, but not for long. Once you're aboard, we're jumping to the outer system. As the two vessels maneuvered for docking, Sang realized how completely his life had changed. There would be no going back to Neo-Seoul, no return to his simple courier existence. He had kicked 3 dogs on a whim, and now he was leaving Earth behind.